In this specialist banking roundtable, in association with Watson Farley & Williams and supported by Aureus from APAC, a Sopra banking software company, we will discuss how important technology is in the current specialist banking space and what impact the industry expects it to have on its businesses in the future. Mark Elliott, Business Development Manager at Aureus, will be joined by Ranjiv Kumar, Partner at Watson Farley & Williams. Also in attendance is John Hall, Chief Commercial Officer and Deputy CEO at Masthaven Bank, Mark Evans, Chief Information Officer at Hodge Bank, Nick Baker, Head of Intermediaries at Alaka Bank, and Marc Champ, Managing Director of Wharf Financial. Nick, you're Alex, obviously a very new bank.
Brand new.
Yeah, how has tech impacted kind of your launch?
Well, it's been everything. So we received our authorisation from the FCA in September, opened our doors to trade in October, and obviously tech's played a massive part throughout that journey. Without that, we cannot open a bank. So all the way back to the creation of the regulatory business plan, all the way back to how we plan to operate, how we plan to proceed, tech is the whole thing through. Where we've had to be really careful is that we don't build solutions to problems that don't exist. So we've had to do a lot of learning, we've had to do a lot of testing, whether that's with brokers, whether that's with other professional introducers or direct to the SME as well, and actually make sure we're using technology to deliver something that is actually required in the market. One thing we've been reflecting on now as a multi-site business, we opened an office in Milton Keynes recently and we're based in Moorgate as well, is actually how technology can keep the team engaged as well. So I'm sure a lot of us have got disparate members of staff, and when we're trying to empower those staff to really deliver valuable SME relationships, actually one of the biggest kickbacks we've had from technology so far is how we can keep the business aligned. So whether that's one of our business relationship managers in Manchester being able to use technology to dial into our weekly updates and chats our CEO will have with the business and certain lunch and learns and various things that happens in a new business. It plays a vital role for that as well.
From a broker's point of view, you have different systems for different banks, and each lender has a completely different way of accessing underwriters and inputting data into the lenders. So if, say, there was a way to unify, have a uniform platform all the way across the different lenders, it would make it so much easier for the brokers, which in turn will make it easier for the customers, and in turn probably make it easier for the banks going forward.
Does it take quite a while to get used to each lender's platform?
It can be a nightmare, I tell you. It's a challenge when you've been working on one lender's platform, then you have to go to another lender's platform, and there's different data needed, and there's a different format. It'll be a lot more beneficial, I think, for everybody if there was one platform.
And I think it's not necessarily about one platform, it's about interoperability between platforms.
Yeah.
What's being forced on the large-scale retail space market, of course, is open banking. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what it's doing, is it's standardising the interfaces between banks. Yeah. And I think that we'll see much more of that coming into the commercial and specialist space, just because banks will get used to doing it. Mm-hmm. And so that opening up of their data so that it's usable by external sources, and I mean, there's difficulties around that, the security and the permissioning and all that kind of thing, but that I'm sure will be a major movement over the next 5 years.
You know, on the open banking side, already, you know, this week, even yesterday, we were kind of talking to a provider which links together. So you provide a front end, it then links all of the transactional data that you want to move through and assess quickly, which helps the job of a broker. And then that does bring all of that kind of transactional data out of current accounts, allows you to underwrite much more kind of with much more data and much more efficiently. And that's where you are starting to see connections between different providers coming together. But I think until you get the front end sorted, then I think, you know, it's a difficult one, because we're in specialist lending markets as well, which means that we don't all want to be on a Lloyd's system or a Santander system.
That.
I mean, just the reaction there that says, I can imagine nothing worse than a single provider, you know, dominating. We've got close to dominance already, and we can do without that.
We can have technology as part of the solution. We overlay that with experienced business relationship managers, because we're at the SME side of the market rather than pure property plays. And where there's an operational business and there's certain information we need to be really clear about why we're asking for that. But if we're asking a broker to transact with us in a certain way, we need to explain why we've set that way out. If we need to change that within the realms of possibility, we need to change that. And we need to seek that full feedback, because if we're providing a blocked experience for you guys, we will not achieve our commercial goals. And the SME at the end won't get the transaction.
I agree, because we have to translate that to the customer.
Correct.
And it's very hard to do that if you don't have a reason. And it's only with personal relationships with the people within the banks and the lenders that you build this picture.
In that sense, how important is it for lenders, banks to pilot any kind of tech update?
I think there's an expression which is about operational resilience, which is absolutely great, because the last thing you want to do is to make a major shift in your provision of services to your customers and then realise that TSB, you just can't. So we're all kind of on that journey of understanding the implications there and where you can kind of do that. But I think, there's two sides to it. One is actually you don't want to put off all of your customers who are used to using one particular way and think it's better but not know that it really isn't, or fine-tune it or learn, because you're going to learn. And the other one is actually it just needs to be operationally fit for purpose, and it needs to do what it says it's going to do, does what it says on the tin. And I think both of those things are supported by, one is it's not just about piloting at the end, it's actually about road testing all the way through a process. Obviously you've got a testing experience to go through, and then we've always viewed that piloting approach as a sensible way of doing things.
The bigger the bank, the harder it is to get anything done. These are the guys that should be leading tech, because they've got the bigger budgets, they probably have the staff numbers to be able to do it, but unfortunately the amount of red tape they have to go through and get all these different levels of sign-off, you just can't do it, so nothing gets done. And then they've missed the boat and they'll go to the back of the line. And
I think it's also about challenging the way things have been done. Traditionally you'd kick off a project, the project would do that requirements gathering, build a solution, hopefully get some engagement from the folks who are going to use it and get some feedback in the design process, and then pass it across the line to some poor folks in the operational team, and they disappear into the horizon. That's a very traditional way of doing things, with recognition that even if you do incorporate that user testing and feedback and focus groups, the reality of it is only when that system is released into the wild and people are using it in all of these complex different scenarios do you really start to get some feedback. So recognizing you need that ability to change quickly thereafter, just challenging that traditional project mindset.
Traditional tech commercial models don't suit kind of dipping your toe in to a market at all, because they're very expensive things to put in the first place. So you've got to make a very big commercial decision to enter a market, to try something new, and certainly one of the things we're looking at is about lowering that barrier to entry, so that you've got an ability to try something. Because I think as banks, you need that ability to experiment, and traditional commercial arrangements with technology companies don't really allow for that.
At the front, you may see more churn, and actually making an investment in something is probably only going to be fit for purpose for 2 or 3 years. Maybe a sensible strategy there, and your exit costs or the exit effort is minimal. So you say, okay, we can take a punt on that kind of thing, try something, and if it doesn't work out, walk away from it. Whereas some other elements of the stack, you're going to take a much more considered approach to it. Yeah. But I think I spent a fair bit of time in public sector, and the joke there used to be some vendors, some suppliers in public sector had hostages rather than customers. I think what we are seeing is software as a service, cloud-based offerings. Absolutely. More and more. The commercial model around that does allow you to dip your toe in the water.
I think underpinning all of this is the inherent challenges in all businesses, how to maintain trust, integrity and confidence in the system, and allow people to use things in a relatively secure way. And certainly in efficiency improvements, if they're scalable.
There is a challenge on the lending side in actually providing solutions in that kind of fluid way to brokers to go, actually, I want that bit there, I want to add that bit there, my client really needs this bit, they don't want all of that, and I don't want to pay for that. Right, that's what we want. and actually they've got a bit few quirks, so I do need an underwriter available to talk to when I need to. Away we go. Verify it, underwrite it efficiently, quickly, come back to me, tell me, keep me in the loop. And at the end of the day, now there are blockages in that journey. Some people are doing it better than others. Everybody is aspiring to do that. And I think the point of us being a specialist lender is actually we are very clear about the markets that we want to be in to help understand what those particular nuances are.
I was doing a deal for a customer recently, and they had 10 different properties. You couldn't do that all as one deal. It was 10 separate transactions. So every time I uploaded something on their online system, I got 10 separate emails. That's not great, because it fills up my inbox, and you're thinking, I've got to read through everyone, make sure I don't miss any detail. If there were ways that communicate, even a WhatsApp message, something like that that says, this is what's happened, this is the next stage, and you can forward that to a customer really quickly, and it saves everybody time. You get onto the next deal, and you can make everything just work a lot more smoothly.
Personally, I think there are 3 areas where we can leverage technology to...
If there's 3, I'm going to write them down.
So it's that customer experience piece, which is around ultimately, minimising that customer effort, isn't it? Yeah. How can I get there through channel of choice, real-time feedback, get there quickly. There's the productivity thing, which I think arguably has been oversold, but it's automating some of those lower value add tasks, which then frees up resource. So the underwriting team, for example, one of the developments we're working on now, the underwriting team presented with a rich dashboard that says, credit, affordability, it all looks like this. These are the 1 or 2 areas you need to focus your attention on. Yeah. So freeing them up from the burden of lots of manual tasks, providing them with that information to make an informed decision. So it's around automating some of those lower value add things. And the third one, I think, then is it's a bit of a stretch. It's not technology, but technology provides us with the access to data to make better decisions. That may be around data from some of the sourcing platforms around what are the kind of products people are searching for, they don't get a match on, that kind of thing. But those are the 3 key areas for me: customer experience, efficiency through automation, and then getting value out of data.
The generation of SME business owners, from our perspective, who we're facing off with now, have grown up with the big 5. Yeah. And the monopoly isn't happening anytime soon. But as demographics change, for example, we went on a work event recently. I was sadly one of the oldest there, and they could not believe I had a Barclays debit card.
Right.
Because they had blue debit cards and orange, coral debit cards, and they just couldn't believe I was that far behind. And that will change. Those people are the future SME owners, so it will change. We have to deliver trust, we have to deliver good product, and we have to really speak to the customer, say what it is we stand for, what we believe we can provide them. And I think ultimately it will just drive more choice.
There's an interesting sort of collateral benefit of what's going on in fintech, and that's where professional services firms come in. And frankly, we have to sort of look like our clients in a number of respects. And we're also using some interesting kit in terms of getting deals done as quickly as possible. And so, in a way, I suppose what we'd say is that, we and other professional services firms are looking to sort of complement the process. So there's no point in having a supercharged front end and then finding things that get stuck with the other professional services firms that are just tired dinosaurs and not really keeping up.
Thanks for watching our latest filmed roundtable. If you would like to star in or even sponsor one of our next roundtables, we have them in April, May, September and October this year. So please do give me a call or drop me an email. Details will be in the video.